The shuttle broke through the clouds, and Kang Do-hyun got his first look at the Valari homeworld. Crystal towers rose from the ground like frozen lightning. Purple rivers cut through valleys of silver stone. It was beautiful, but it felt cold. Everything here felt cold. Do-hyun was a xenobiologist, but today he was playing diplomat. The Valari had only made contact with humans 6 months ago. They were powerful, ancient, and they looked down on every other species in the galaxy. Humans were just the newest insects to crawl into their view. "Remember," said Yoon Hana from the seat beside him, "don't smile too much. They think showing teeth is a threat." Hana was the team's medical officer. She had studied Valari biology for months, preparing for this mission. She knew more about their bodies than anyone else on Earth. But knowing about them and understanding them were very different things. No smiling, no direct eye contact for more than 3 seconds, no touching, Do-hyun repeated. "Anything else?" "Yes. Don't expect them to like us." The shuttle landed in a courtyard of polished black stone. Valari guards waited for them. They were tall, with pale blue skin and silver eyes. Their faces showed nothing. No welcome, no curiosity, nothing at all. The human delegation was small. Just 5 people, including Do-hyun and Hana. They were led through hallways of crystal and metal, past windows that looked out over the alien city. No one spoke to them. The guards walked ahead, never looking back. Finally, they reached the throne room. Queen Sarath sat on a throne of white crystal. She was taller than the others, and her skin was darker blue, almost purple. Her silver eyes moved across the humans like she was examining insects under glass. A crown of metallic threads wrapped around her head, connecting to ports along her temples. She was beautiful in the way a knife was beautiful, sharp and dangerous. "Humans," she said. Her voice was flat. "You have traveled far to stand before me. Speak your purpose." The lead diplomat stepped forward. His name was Director Calm, and he was good at his job. He talked about trade, cooperation, mutual benefit. The Queen listened without expression. Her advisors stood behind her, equally silent. Do-hyun watched her carefully. He had spent his career studying alien species, learning to read body language that humans were never meant to understand. The Queen was bored. More than that, she was insulted. She saw this meeting as a waste of her time. Director Cam finished his speech. The Queen was silent for a long moment. "Your proposal is noted," she said at last. "We will consider it. You may stay in the guest quarters until we reach a decision." That was it. No discussion, no questions. The audience was over. As the humans turned to leave, Do-hyun heard a sound. A crack, high and sharp, coming from above. He looked up. One of the crystal support beams was breaking. Stress fractures spread across its surface like spider webs. It was going to fall. And it was going to fall directly on the Queen. Do-hyun did not think. He ran. He crossed the distance between them in seconds, throwing himself at the Queen. He knocked her off the throne and covered her body with his own, just as the beam came crashing down. Crystals shattered around them. Shards cut into Do-hyun's back and arms. Pain exploded through his body, but he held his position, protecting her until the collapse stopped. Then there was silence. Do-hyun lifted his head. The Queen was beneath him, unharmed. Her silver eyes were wide, staring up at him with something he could not name. Shock, maybe, or confusion. "You," she whispered, "you are injured." Blood ran down his arms. His back felt like fire, but he managed to push himself up, freeing her from his weight. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The Queen did not answer. She was still staring at him. Around them, guards rushed forward, pulling Do-hyun away. Hana was shouting his name. Everything became noise and movement. But the Queen just sat there on the floor, looking at the place where Do-hyun had been. Hours later, Do-hyun woke up in a medical room. His wounds had been treated. Ha-na was beside him, relief clear on her face. "You're an idiot," she said. "A brave idiot, but still an idiot." "The Queen?" "Not a scratch, thanks to you." Hana shook her head. "Do-hyun, do you understand what you did? You touched her. You knocked down the ruler of an empire. They could have killed you." She was going to die. "She's not human. She's not your responsibility." But she would have died, Do-hyun thought. That was enough. The door opened. A Valari guard entered and stood at attention. "The Queen commands your presence," he said to Do-hyun. Hana stepped forward. "He needs rest. He's injured." "The Queen commands his presence," the guard repeated. "Now." Do-hyun stood, ignoring the pain. "It's fine. I'll go." He followed the guard through the palace, through more crystal hallways, until they reached a different room. Smaller, private. The Queen stood by a window, looking out at her city. "Leave us," she said to the guard. They were alone. The Queen turned to face him. Her expression was still unreadable, but something in her posture had changed. She seemed less certain than before. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Do what?" "Save me. Risk your life for mine." She stepped closer. "You are human. I am Valari. We are not allies. We are barely acquaintances. There was no benefit to you, no logical reason." Do-hyun considered his answer carefully. "You were in danger. I could help, so I helped." "That is not an answer. It is for humans." The Queen was silent. She studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "Your people may return to their ship," she said at last, "but you will remain here." Do-hyun felt cold. "I don't understand. You saved my life. Among my people, this creates a debt, a bond. You belong to me now, human, until I decide otherwise. That's not... It is our way." Her voice was hard again, the moment of uncertainty gone. "You will be given comfortable quarters. You will be treated well, but you will not leave this palace." She walked past him toward the door. "This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. You are mine now, Kang Do-hyun." And then she was gone, leaving him alone in the room with the weight of her words pressing down on him. He was a prisoner, a comfortable prisoner in a crystal cage, and he had no idea how to get free. 3 weeks passed, and Do-hyun learned what it meant to be a prisoner of the Valari Queen. His quarters were large and beautiful, crystal walls that changed color with the light, furniture made from materials he could not name, food brought to him 3 times a day, strange but edible. He had everything he could want except the one thing that mattered: freedom. The doors were never locked, but guards stood outside at all times. He could walk in the gardens, visit the library, even explore certain parts of the palace. But he could not leave. He could not contact his ship. He could not go home. Hana had fought hard to stay with him. She had argued, demanded, even threatened. But the Valari would not allow it. The human delegation was sent away, ordered to wait in orbit, while their xenobiologist remained below. "We will get you out," Hana had promised before she left. "I don't know how yet, but we will." That was 3 weeks ago. Do-hyun had heard nothing since. He spent his days reading. The Valari library was vast, filled with thousands of years of history and science. He learned about their culture, their biology, their way of thinking. The more he learned, the less he understood them. They did not have families, not like humans did. Children were created through genetic selection, grown in artificial chambers, and raised by the state. There were no parents, no siblings, no bonds of love or blood. Emotions were seen as weakness. Attachment was inefficient. The Valari had evolved beyond such primitive things, or so they believed. Do-hyun was reading about their reproduction methods when the Queen came to see him. She arrived without warning, stepping into his quarters like she owned them, which, he supposed, she did. "You are studying us," she said. It was not a question. I'm trying to understand you. Why? Do-hyun set down his reading device. Because I'm stuck here, and because you confuse me. Something flickered in her silver eyes. Interest, maybe. I confuse you? Yes. Your people are intelligent, powerful, advanced. But you don't have families. You don't have love. How can a civilization survive without those things? The Queen's expression hardened. Love is a chemical reaction, a trick of biology to encourage reproduction. We have moved beyond such tricks. We reproduce through logic, selecting the best genetic combinations for the strongest offspring. It is efficient. It is clean. It is empty, Do-hyun said. The Queen went very still. You dare to criticize us? I dare to speak the truth. Your way might be efficient, but it's missing something. Connection, purpose, meaning. And humans have these things? We try to. The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she sat down across from him, which surprised him. She had never sat in his presence before. Explain it to me, she said. This connection you speak of. This love. Do-hyun was not sure where to begin. How did you explain love to someone who had never felt it? It's caring about someone else more than yourself, he said slowly. Wanting them to be happy, even if it costs you something. Feeling pain when they suffer. Feeling joy when they succeed. That sounds inefficient. It is, but it's also what makes life worth living. The Queen considered this. And this is why you saved me? Because of love? No. I don't love you. I don't even know you. Then why? Because it was the right thing to do. Because your life has value. Because letting someone die when you can save them is wrong, no matter who they are. The Queen leaned back in her chair. She looked at him differently now. Not with contempt or curiosity, but with something deeper. Something troubled. You are strange, Kang Do-hyun, she said at last. So I've been told. She visited him again the next day, and the day after that. Each time she asked him questions about humans, about their families, their children, their relationships. She asked about concepts like loyalty, friendship, sacrifice, words that had no direct translation in the Valari language. Do-hyun answered as honestly as he could. He told her about his own family, his parents, who had raised him with patience and love, his sister, who he had protected when they were children, the friends he had made, the bonds he had built, a lifetime of connections that had shaped who he was. The Queen listened to everything. She never interrupted, never argued. But she never agreed either. She would simply nod, file the information away, and leave. Do-hyun did not know what to make of it. Was she studying him, testing him, or was she genuinely trying to understand? On the 10th day of her visits, she came with a different question. If I released you, she said, would you return to your people? Do-hyun hesitated. It felt like a trap. Yes. Even though you find us interesting? Even though there is more to learn here? This is not my home. My people need me. Your people. The Queen's voice was strange. You speak of them with such warmth. They're my family. Not by blood, but by choice. That matters to humans. Family by choice. She repeated the words like she was tasting them. We do not have such a concept. Maybe you should. The Queen stood. She walked to the window and looked out at her city. For a long time, she said nothing. I have been thinking, she said at last, about your genetic material. Do-hyun felt a chill. What about it? Human DNA is different from ours, less refined but more adaptable, more diverse. I believe it could strengthen the Valari bloodline, especially the royal line. What are you saying? She turned to face him. Her expression was cold again. All business. I am saying that I want to use your genetic material to create an heir, a hybrid child, part Valari, part human. Do-hyun stood so fast his chair fell over. No, it is not a request. I don't care. The answer is no. You can't just take my DNA and make a child without my consent. That's not how it works. That is exactly how it works for Valari. We do not need consent. We need only the genetic material. I'm not Valari. The queen stepped closer. Her silver eyes were hard as metal. No, you are my prisoner, and you will give me what I want. Do-hyun held his ground. No, I won't. For a moment, he thought she would strike him. Her hands were clenched at her sides. Her jaw was tight. But then something shifted. The anger faded, replaced by something cold and calculating. Very well, she said quietly. If you will not give it willingly, I will take it another way. She left without another word. That night, Do-hyun could not sleep. He knew she would find a way. She was the queen. She had all the power, and he had none. But he would not cooperate. He would not make it easy. Whatever she was planning, he would resist it with everything he had. He just hoped it would be enough. Do-hyun did not see the queen for 5 days after their argument. No visits, no questions, only silence. He knew she was planning something. The waiting was the worst part. On the 6th day, a message came. Not from the queen, but from Elder Morath, her chief advisor. Do-hyun had seen him before, standing behind the throne. An ancient Valari with skin like faded parchment and eyes that seemed to look through everything. The elder wanted to meet him. Alone. Do-hyun was brought to a chamber deep in the palace. The walls were covered with carvings, symbols in a language older than the Valari Empire itself. Morath stood in the center, waiting. "Kang Do-hyun," the elder said. His voice was like dry leaves. "I have watched you these past weeks. You are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "A simple creature, loud, crude, driven by basic instincts." Morath tilted his head. "But you are more than that. You have made the queen think. That is dangerous." "Dangerous for who?" "For everyone." The elder moved closer. "Do you know why she wants your genetic material?" "To strengthen her bloodline," that's what she said. "That is part of it. But there is another reason. A prophecy." Do-hyun felt cold. "What prophecy?" Morath raised one thin hand and touched the carvings on the wall. 10,000 years ago, our seers wrote these words. They spoke of a child of 2 worlds, a child who would either save the empire or destroy it. And you think this child would come from human DNA? I think nothing. But the queen believes it. She has studied the prophecy her entire life. She believes that the Valari are weakening, becoming too pure, too stagnant. She believes that new blood is needed. And when your people arrived, Morath's silver eyes fixed on Do-hyun, she saw possibility. I won't help her. I already told her no. Your consent is no longer required. The cold spread through Do-hyun's chest. What do you mean? When you were first injured, our doctors treated you. They took samples, blood, tissue, everything needed for genetic extraction. Morath's expression did not change. The queen already has what she needs. Do-hyun's hands clenched into fists. She can't do this. She is the queen. She can do anything. Do-hyun wanted to hit something, to break something, but he forced himself to stay calm. Anger would not help him now. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because the prophecy is not complete. The child of 2 worlds will save or destroy us. The outcome depends on how the child is raised, on what values it is given. Morath stepped back. The queen believes she can control this, that she can create a weapon or a tool. But prophecies are not so simple, and human DNA is unpredictable. You want me to stop her. I want you to be ready for what comes next. Morath left without another word. Du Hyan stood alone in the chamber, surrounded by ancient carvings and terrible possibilities. 4 weeks later, the queen summoned him to her private chambers. She looked different. Du Hyan noticed it immediately. Her posture was less rigid, her movements were slower, and her face, usually so controlled, showed signs of something he had never seen in her before: fear. "The procedure was successful," she said without greeting. "I am carrying a child." Do-hyun had expected this. He had prepared himself for the anger, the violation, the helplessness, but hearing her say it still hit him like a blow. "You had no right," he said quietly. "I had every right. I am the queen." "That doesn't make it right." She ignored him. "But there is a problem. A complication." Do-hyun waited. "Velari do not carry children inside their bodies." "We use artificial chambers, external growth. It is safer, more controlled." The queen's hand moved to her stomach. "But this child will not accept the chamber. It is growing inside me. Like human children grow." For a moment, Do-hyun forgot his anger. "That's impossible." "Apparently not." Her voice cracked slightly. "My body is changing. I am experiencing symptoms that no Velari has ever experienced. Pain, nausea, emotional fluctuations." She looked at him with something close to desperation. "I do not know what is happening to me." Do-hyun understood then. This was not just about the pregnancy. The human DNA was changing her, activating parts of Velari biology that had been dormant for thousands of years. She was becoming something new, something her people had evolved beyond long ago. She was becoming a mother, a real one. And it terrified her. "You need to let Hana come down," Do-hyun said. "She's a doctor. She knows human pregnancies." "I will not show weakness to your people." "This isn't about weakness. This is about survival, yours and the child's." The queen's jaw tightened, but she did not refuse. 2 days later, Hana arrived at the palace. She examined the queen with professional calm, running tests, taking readings, asking questions. The queen answered stiffly, clearly uncomfortable with the intrusion, but she cooperated. After several hours, Hana pulled Do-hyun aside. "It's real," she said. "She's pregnant, and the child is developing internally. Her body is adapting, creating a womb that Velari haven't had for millennia. It's incredible." "Is it safe?" "I don't know. Her physiology is fighting the changes." "Accepting and rejecting at the same time. If we don't stabilize her, she could lose the child. Or worse." "Worse?" Hana's face was grim. "She could die." Do-hyun went back to the queen. She was sitting by the window, one hand still on her stomach. She looked smaller than before, less like a ruler and more like a frightened woman. "Hana says the pregnancy is dangerous," he told her. "You need constant monitoring. You need help." "I have doctors." "Your doctors have never dealt with this. Hana has, and I—" He stopped himself. The queen looked at him. "You what?" "I know about human pregnancies. My sister had 2 children. I was there for both. I can help you understand what's happening to you." "Why would you help me?" "I took your genetic material without permission. I made you a prisoner." "You should hate me." Do-hyun considered his answer. He did resent her. He was angry at what she had done. But looking at her now, seeing the fear in her eyes, he could not bring himself to hate her. "Because there's a child now," he said. "Whatever you did, whatever I feel about it, that child is real. It's part me. And I won't let it die because of your pride." The queen stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "You will stay," she said, "both of you, until the child is born. And after? After we will see." It was not freedom. It was not justice. But it was something. Do-hyun looked at the queen, at the fear and uncertainty in her silver eyes, and he made a decision. He would help her. He would protect this child, not for her sake, but for the sake of the life that was coming. A child of two worlds. He just hoped Morath was wrong about the prophecy, because if the child really could destroy the Empire, then Do-hyun had helped create something terrible, and he would have to live with that forever. The queen was pregnant, not in an artificial chamber, but inside her own body, and the father was human. Within days, the entire empire knew. Commander Talek was the first to demand an audience. He was the leader of the Queen's military forces, a veteran of 100 campaigns. Do-hyun had seen him at the original diplomatic meeting, standing silent and watchful. Now he stood before the throne, and his silver eyes burned with anger. "This is an abomination," Talek said. His voice was controlled, but barely. "You carry a hybrid creature in your body, a contamination of the royal bloodline." The queen sat rigid on her throne. Her hand rested on her stomach, which had begun to show the slightest curve. "I carry the future of the Empire." "You carry its destruction. The prophecy—" "I know the prophecy better than you, Commander." "Then you know the risk. The child of two worlds could destroy us, end everything we have built." Talek stepped closer. "You must terminate this pregnancy. Now, before it is too late." "I will not." "You must. I am your queen." Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "You do not tell me what I must do." Talek's jaw tightened. For a moment, Do-hyun thought he might strike her. But the commander stepped back, his hands clenched at his sides. "This is not over," he said quietly. "The nobles will not accept this. The people will not accept this. You are putting our entire civilization at risk for a human's child." He left without being dismissed. The queen did not stop him. That night, Do-hyun found her in the garden. She was sitting alone on a bench, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. She looked tired, more than tired. She looked lost. "He's right, isn't he?" she said when Do-hyun approached. "They will never accept this child." "Some won't. Others might. You don't know my people. We value purity above all else. A hybrid heir is unthinkable. Then why did you do it?" The queen was silent for a long moment. "Because I am afraid," she said at last. "I have ruled for 80 years. I have seen our empire grow powerful and stagnant at the same time. We are strong, but we are not changing, not growing. We are the same as we were 1,000 years ago. And one day, that will kill us." "So you wanted new blood?" "Literally. I wanted hope. I wanted to believe that we could become something more than what we are." She looked down at her hands. "I did not expect it to feel like this." "Like what?" "Like I am being torn apart. My body changes every day. Pains I have never felt, emotions I cannot control. And there is something else. Something worse." She put her hand on her stomach. "I feel connected to it, to the child. I think about it constantly. I want to protect it. I want it to be safe." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "What is happening to me?" Do-hyun sat down beside her. "It's called maternal instinct. It's normal for humans. When a woman is pregnant, her body creates bonds with the child. Emotional bonds. It's biology. It is weakness. It is love." The queen looked at him sharply. "I do not love." "Maybe you didn't before, but you're carrying a half-human child. Maybe it's changing you." She turned away, but she did not argue. The weeks that followed were difficult. Hana worked constantly to monitor the pregnancy, adapting human medical knowledge to Valari biology. The queen's body continued to change, fighting and accepting at the same time. Some days were better than others. Some days she could barely stand. And through it all, the opposition grew. Talek had been right. The nobles would not accept the pregnancy. Secret meetings were held. Alliances were formed. Do-hyun saw it happening, the quiet glances, the whispered conversations. A storm was coming, but he also saw something else. He saw the queen changing. She came to him often now, asking questions, not about human biology or culture, but about human families, about childhood and parenting, about what it meant to raise a child with love. "When your sister had her children," she asked one day, "how did she know what to do? How did she know how to care for them?" "She didn't. Not at first. No one does. You learn as you go, you make mistakes, you try again." That sounds inefficient. It is. But it's also beautiful, watching someone grow, helping them become who they're meant to be. There's nothing like it. The queen considered this. "And your parents? They raised you this way? With love and attention?" "Yes. They sacrificed for you, put your needs before their own." "Yes. And you would do the same for your child?" Do-hyun hesitated. He had not thought of the baby as his child. It had been forced on him, created without his consent. But now, hearing the queen ask that question, he realized the truth. "Yes," he said, "I would." Something shifted in the queen's expression. Something softened. "Teach me," she said quietly. "Teach me how to love this child." Before Do-hyun could answer, alarms began to sound. The palace shook. Explosions echoed in the distance. Guards rushed past the windows, weapons drawn. Hana burst into the room. "We have to move now." "What's happening?" Do-hyun demanded. "Talek, he's launched an attack. He has support from the noble houses. They're coming for the queen." Do-hyun grabbed the queen's arm. "Can you walk?" "I am the queen. I do not run from—" "This isn't about pride. It's about survival. Your survival and the child's." He pulled her toward the door. "We need to go." For once, she did not argue. They moved through the palace, guided by Hana and a handful of loyal guards. The sounds of battle grew closer. Do-hyun could hear energy weapons firing, walls collapsing. Talek's forces were inside. They reached a secured room deep in the palace. The guards took positions at the door. Hana checked her medical equipment. "We should be safe here for now," she said. "But if they breach the inner perimeter, they won't." Do-hyun picked up a weapon from one of the fallen guards. He checked the charge. "I'll make sure of it." The queen looked at him. "You would fight for me?" "I told you before. There's a child now. That changes everything." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she reached out and touched his face. It was the first time she had ever touched him willingly. "You are not like other humans," she said. "You are not like anyone I have ever known. Is that good or bad? I do not know yet." She pulled her hand back. "But I do not want you to die finding out. Stay here. Protect the child. And you?" She turned toward the door. "I am still the queen, and this is still my empire. Talek may have forgotten that. I will remind him." She walked out before he could stop her. Do-hyun looked at Hana. "Stay here. Keep the medical equipment ready." "Where are you going?" He tightened his grip on the weapon. "To protect the queen. Both of them." Then he ran after her, into the chaos and the fire, knowing that everything was about to change, for better or for worse. Do-hyun ran through corridors filled with smoke and chaos. Bodies lay on the ground, Velari guards and rebels alike. The fighting had spread to every level. He found the queen on the steps of the throne room. She stood facing a line of rebel soldiers, her silver eyes blazing with fury. A force field shimmered around her, generated by the crown on her head, but it was flickering, weakening. "You dare to attack your queen," she said. Her voice carried over the noise of battle. "You will die for this treason." "The treason is yours," the lead rebel shouted back. "You carry a monster in your body, an abomination that will destroy us all. We are saving the empire." "You are destroying it." The rebel raised his weapon. The queen's force field pulsed, but it would not hold much longer. Do-hyun could see it failing. He did not think. He ran forward, firing his weapon at the rebel line. 2 soldiers fell before they knew what was happening. The others turned, confused by the attack from behind. "Get back!" Do-hyun shouted at the queen. "Now! You cannot give me orders. I can when you're about to die." He grabbed her arm and pulled her behind a pillar as energy blasts scorched the air around them. "Your force field is failing. You need to retreat." "I do not retreat." "The child. Think about the child." That stopped her. For just a moment, her hand went to her stomach. The curve was more visible now, impossible to hide. She was 5 months along. "There is another way out," she said quietly. "Through the lower chambers, but we will need to fight through." "Then we fight through." They moved together, the queen leading the way. Her knowledge of the palace was perfect. Every corridor, every hidden door. But her strength was failing. The pregnancy had weakened her more than she would admit. They encountered rebels twice more. Both times Do-hyun fought while the queen took cover. He was not a soldier. He was a scientist, a diplomat. But he had learned to fight during his training, and desperation made him fast. The rebels were not expecting a human to resist. They did not understand why he would fight for the Valari queen. That confusion gave him an advantage. Finally, they reached the lower chambers. A group of loyal guards waited there, along with Hana and Elder Morath. The old advisor looked grim. "Commander Talek has taken the communications center," Morath said. "He is broadcasting to the Empire, telling them the queen is unfit to rule, that the pregnancy has driven her mad." "The people will not believe him," the queen said. "Some will. Fear is a powerful tool, and many fear the prophecy. Then we must show them the truth." The queen straightened. Despite her exhaustion, "We must take back the throne room, make a broadcast of our own." "You can barely stand," Hana said. "The stress of this is dangerous for the baby. You need rest." "I will rest when my empire is secure." Do-hyun looked at her. She was pale, trembling slightly, but her jaw was set. She would not back down. She could not. "Then we do this together," he said. "I'll lead the assault on the throne room. You stay behind the guards until the area is clear." "You are not a soldier." "No. But I'm adaptable. That's what humans do." The queen studied him. Then, slowly, she nodded. They moved as a unit. Guards in front, Do-hyun at the point, the queen protected in the center. Morath had given them intelligence on rebel positions. It was not perfect, but it was enough. The fighting was brutal. Do-hyun lost track of how many times he fired his weapon, how many rebels fell. He did not enjoy it. He was not built for war. But he thought of the child, the innocent life caught in the middle of this conflict, and he kept moving forward. They reached the throne room just as Talek was finishing his broadcast. "The queen is compromised," the commander was saying to the camera. "Her judgment is clouded by human influence. The hybrid child she carries is a threat to everything we have built. I call upon all loyal Valari to support me in..." "In what, Commander?" The queen stepped into the room, blood on her clothes, fire in her eyes, but standing tall. Talek turned. His expression flickered between surprise and hatred. "You should not be here," he said. "This is my throne room, my palace, my empire." She walked toward him, each step deliberate. "And you are a traitor." "I am a patriot. I am trying to save our people from your mistake." "My mistake?" The queen stopped a few meters from him. "Let me tell you about my mistake, Commander. For 80 years I have ruled this empire with logic and efficiency. I have made us strong, but I have also made us cold. We do not love. We do not connect. We do not change, and that will destroy us faster than any prophecy." "You speak of human nonsense, emotion, and sentiment." "I speak of survival. The humans are few and weak, but they have something we do not. They have passion. They have bonds. They have the ability to adapt and grow. Her hand rested on her stomach. This child will have those things, and it will make us stronger. It will make us impure. It will make us alive. Talek drew his blade. It was an old weapon, ceremonial but sharp. Then you leave me no choice. He lunged at her, but Do-hyun was faster. He threw himself between them, catching Talek's arm and twisting. The blade clattered to the ground. The two men struggled, strength against strength. Talek was a trained warrior. Do-hyun was not, but Do-hyun had something Talek did not, something to protect. He threw Talek back, grabbed the fallen blade, and pressed it to the commander's throat. "Yield," he said. "You would not dare. I am a commander of the Valari Empire. And I am a human with nothing to lose." Do-hyun pressed harder. A thin line of blue blood appeared on Talek's skin. "Yield, now!" Talek's eyes burned with hatred, but he lowered his hands. "I yield." The guards moved in, securing Talek. The rebels throughout the palace, seeing their leader captured, began to surrender. It was over. Do-hyun stepped back. His hands were shaking. He had never come so close to killing someone. He hoped he would never have to again. The queen approached him. Her face was unreadable. "You could have killed him," she said. "Yes." "Why didn't you?" Do-hyun looked at Talek, bound and defeated. "Because that's not who I am. And it's not who I want this child to see as its father." The queen stared at him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she did something unexpected. She took his hand. "The broadcast is still active," she said quietly. "The Empire is watching. What do you want to say to them?" She turned to face the camera. Her grip on his hand tightened. "I want to tell them the truth. About the child. About us. About what the future can be." She began to speak, and the Empire listened. And Do-hyun stood beside her, knowing that everything had changed forever, for both their worlds. Talek was captured, but his followers still held parts of the palace. They had barricaded themselves in the eastern wing, refusing to surrender. And they had one final weapon. They had destroyed the shield generators. Without the shields, the palace was vulnerable. Rebel ships in orbit could strike at any moment. The Queen's loyal forces worked desperately to restore power, but it would take time. Time they did not have, and in the middle of it all, the Queen went into labor. It happened suddenly. One moment she was standing in the throne room giving orders to her commanders. The next, she doubled over, a cry of pain escaping her lips. Do-hyun caught her before she fell. "What's wrong?" "The child," she gasped. "It's coming." "That's not possible. You're only 7 months along." "Tell that to your human DNA." Hana rushed to her side. She checked the Queen's vitals, her face growing pale. "She's right. The baby is coming now. We need to get her somewhere safe." But there was nowhere safe. The palace was a war zone. Energy blasts shook the walls. Smoke filled the corridors. "The throne room," Do-hyun said. "We make our stand here. Guards at every entrance. No one gets through." The loyalist commanders moved to obey. Within minutes, the throne room was transformed into a fortress and a delivery room at once. Guards took positions at the doors. Hana set up her medical equipment on the floor. The Queen lay on a makeshift bed, her face twisted in pain. Do-hyun knelt beside her. "I'm here. I'm not leaving. You should be at the doors." "Fighting!" "The guards can handle the doors. You need me here." "I do not need—" Another contraction cut her off. She grabbed his hand and squeezed so hard he thought his bones would break. Hana worked quickly, monitoring the baby's position, the Queen's vital signs. "The child is healthy but impatient, just like its parents." "I am not impatient," the Queen said through gritted teeth. "You decided to have a baby in the middle of a civil war. That's pretty impatient." Despite everything, Do-hyun almost laughed. Hana always knew what to say. Hours passed. The battle raged outside the throne room doors. Do-hyun could hear weapons fire, shouting, the sounds of combat. But the guards held. They were fighting for their queen, for the future of their empire. They would not fall. And through it all, the queen labored. She did not scream, did not beg for relief. She endured in silence, her jaw tight, her silver eyes fierce. But Do-hyun saw the fear beneath her strength. She was facing something no Valari had faced in millennia, something her people had engineered away long ago. Birth, real birth, with all its pain and danger and uncertainty. "You're doing well," he told her. "You're almost there. Do not patronize me." "I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You can do this." She looked at him. For just a moment, her expression softened. "You truly believe that?" "I do." She squeezed his hand again. Not from pain this time, from something else. The final assault came just before dawn. The rebels made one last push, throwing everything they had at the throne room. The doors buckled under the barrage. Guards fell. It looked like they would break through. Do-hyun stood up. "Keep her safe," he told Hana. "Where are you going?" He picked up a weapon from a fallen guard. "To buy you time." He ran to the doors just as they burst open. Rebels poured through, weapons blazing. Do-hyun fired back, taking cover behind a pillar. He was one man against a dozen. He could not win. But he did not need to win. He needed to hold. He fought with everything he had. Every shot, every move. He was not a soldier, but he was a human, adaptable, stubborn, unwilling to quit. And behind him, he heard Ha-na shout, "Now, push!" A baby's cry filled the air. The sound stopped everyone, rebels, guards, Do-hyun himself. They all turned toward the sound, toward the queen, lying exhausted on the floor, toward Ha-na, holding a small, crying infant, a baby girl. Blue skin like her mother, but her eyes, when they opened, were dark like her father's. Human eyes in a Valari face. The rebels hesitated. This was what they had come to destroy, this tiny, helpless creature, this abomination. But she did not look like an abomination. She looked like a child. Do-hyun stepped forward. He stood between the rebels and the baby, his weapon raised. "It's over," he said. "Your leader is captured. Your cause is lost. This child has been born, and nothing you do will change that." "We can still destroy it," one rebel said, but his voice wavered. "You could, but you won't." Do-hyun lowered his weapon. "Because you're not monsters. You're Valari, and somewhere inside you, buried under all that logic and purity, is the capacity to see what this child really is." "And what is that?" "Hope." The silence stretched. Then, one by one, the rebels lowered their weapons. Do-hyun let out a breath he did not know he was holding. He turned back to the queen. She was sitting up now, Hana helping her. Her arms were reaching for the baby. "Give her to me," she whispered. Hana placed the infant in the queen's arms. For a long moment, the queen just stared at her daughter. At the tiny face, the small hands, the dark eyes looking up at her with complete trust. And then Queen Sarath of the Valari Empire began to cry. It was the first time a Valari ruler had shed tears in 10,000 years. Do-hyun knelt beside her. He looked at his daughter, at the impossible child that should never have existed. She was beautiful. She was terrifying. She was everything. "She needs a name," Hana said gently. The queen looked at Do-hyun. "In your culture, who names the child?" "Both parents. Together." "Then choose. You have earned that right." Do-hyun thought for a moment. He thought about everything they had been through, the fear, the pain, the hope. He thought about what this child represented, the joining of two worlds, the chance for something new. "Yuna," he said. "It means to endure, and it means lotus flower, something beautiful that grows from the mud. The queen tested the name. Yuna. She looked down at her daughter. Yes, she is Yuna. The baby made a small sound, content, safe. Around them, the palace was still in ruins. The empire was still divided. There was so much work to be done, so many wounds to heal. But in that moment, none of it mattered. There was only this: a mother, a father, a child, a family. The first Valari family in 10,000 years. And the beginning of everything to come. Du Hyun stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the city. It was different now, still crystal, still beautiful, but warmer somehow. There were parks where children played, markets where humans and Valari traded together, laughter in places that had only known silence. Behind him, he heard small footsteps running across the floor. "Father, Father, look what I made!" He turned to see Yuna racing toward him. She was 5 years old now, tall for her age, with her mother's blue skin and her father's dark eyes. In her hands, she held a drawing. Bright colors on white paper, a human invention that Valari children had quickly adopted. "What is it?" Do-hyun asked, kneeling to her level. "It's us. See? That's you, and that's Mother, and that's me in the middle. And those are the stars." The drawing was simple, messy, wonderful. Do-hyun felt his heart swell. "It's beautiful, Yuna. I want to give it to Mother. Is she busy?" "She's always busy, but never too busy for you." Yuna grinned and ran off toward the throne room. Do-hyun watched her go, marveling at how much she had grown, how much everything had grown. The rebellion had ended 5 years ago, but the healing had taken much longer. Commander Talek and his followers had been tried for treason. Most were imprisoned. Some were exiled. But the queen had shown mercy where she could. She understood now that fear, not evil, had driven them. And slowly, the empire had begun to accept the truth. Yuna was not a monster. She was not a weapon. She was a child. A bright, curious, loving child who represented everything her people could become. Elder Morath's prophecy had spoken of a child who would save or destroy the empire, and now everyone knew which it would be. Do-hyun walked through the palace toward the throne room. He passed guards who nodded to him with respect, servants who smiled, even nobles who had once despised him now greeted him as an equal. He was no longer a prisoner. He was the queen's consort, the father of the heir, a bridge between two worlds. It still felt strange sometimes. 5 years ago, he had been a xenobiologist on a routine diplomatic mission. Now he was part of a royal family, helping to reshape an interstellar empire. Life was unpredictable. Humans knew that better than anyone. He found Sarath in the throne room. She was standing at a holographic display, reviewing reports from across the empire, human trade delegations, Valari cultural exchanges, a dozen programs designed to bring the two species closer together. She looked up when he entered, and she smiled. That was still the most amazing change. Sarath smiled now. She laughed. She hugged her daughter and told her stories at bedtime. She was still the queen, still strong and commanding. But she was also a mother, a partner, a person who had learned to feel. "Yuna is looking for you," Do-hyun said. "She made you something." "I know. I can hear her coming." Yuna burst through the doors a moment later, the drawing held high. "Mother, look!" Sarath knelt down and examined the picture with complete seriousness. "This is extraordinary. The composition, the color choice. You have real talent, my daughter." Yuna beamed. "Can we put it in your office?" "We will put it somewhere better. We will display it in the gallery so everyone can see it." "Really? Really? Now go find Hana. She wanted to do your science lesson today." Yuna hugged her mother, then her father, then ran off again. Her energy was endless. Another human trait. When she was gone, Sarath stood and moved to Do-hyun's side. They looked at each other for a moment, then out at the city together. "The human ambassador sent a message," Sarath said. "There is a new threat, ships from beyond the Outer Rim. They've attacked 3 colonies already." Do-hyun felt cold. "How bad?" "Bad enough that both our peoples are concerned. The ambassador has requested a meeting. They want to discuss a joint defense strategy. Humans and Valari fighting together. It seems that is our future now." Do-hyun considered this. 5 years ago, the 2 species had barely trusted each other. Now they were preparing to stand side by side against a common enemy. It was exactly what he had hoped for, what he had sacrificed for. "When is the meeting?" he asked. "Tomorrow. I want you there, both as my consort and as a representative of your people." "I'll be there." Sarath nodded. Then, more quietly, "Do-hyun, do you ever regret it? Staying here, leaving your world behind?" It was a question she had asked before, usually in quiet moments when the weight of everything seemed too heavy. "No," he said. "I miss Earth sometimes. I miss my family. But I made the right choice. This is where I belong now." "With me?" "With you. With Yuna. With everything we're building." Sarath leaned into him. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. 5 years ago, she would never have touched anyone like this, would never have allowed herself to be vulnerable. Now she could not imagine being any other way. "The prophecy was right," she said softly. "The child of 2 worlds is uniting the stars. But it was not just Yuna. It was all of us, everything we have done together. Maybe that's what the prophecy really meant. Not one person, but the choice to come together, to build something new. A very human interpretation. Is that a bad thing?" She looked at him. Her silver eyes, once so cold, were warm now, alive. "No," she said. "It is the best thing." That evening, they stood together on the balcony, Sarath, Do-hyun, and Yuna between them. The stars spread across the sky, countless points of light, each one holding mysteries and dangers and possibilities. "Father," Yuna said, "will there be a war?" Do-hyun looked at his daughter. She was so young, but she understood more than most children her age, a side effect of being raised in a palace, surrounded by politics and power. "Maybe," he said honestly. "But if there is, we won't face it alone. Humans and Valari will face it together." "Because we're stronger together?" "Yes. And because we're family now. All of us." Yuna thought about this. Then she nodded, satisfied. "Good. I don't like fighting, but I like family." Sarath put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "So do I, my love. So do I." They stood in silence, watching the stars. The future was uncertain. It always was. There would be challenges, enemies, struggles they could not yet imagine, but they would face them together, human and Valari. 2 worlds, 1 family. And that made all the difference. Do-hyun remembered what Sarath had asked him once, in those early days. What do humans have that we do not? Now he knew the answer. And now so did she. Hope, connection, love. The simple things that made life worth living. The things that could unite the stars. The things that had brought them here, to this moment, this family, this future. And as they looked up at the endless sky, Do-hyun knew that this was just the beginning. The best was yet to come.